Hello and welcome to Green Pass Gaming Sunday podcast. I am your host Flap as ever, and pinching a punch first of the month. Somehow it seems to be August already. Christmas surely can't be that far away, but if that's the case, then that also means some fantastic games aren't far away either, including things like Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon 5, all of those kind of things. We're inching closer towards those games, and it feels fantastic. And we've had quite the week when it comes to Game Pass games, and so our first topic tonight is basically a bit of a review of all of those new games that have dropped. Not all of them in Game Pass Devs Doors on our list, but we'll be discussing those good things. Topic 2, we're just going to be doing a bit of a game roundup of this week's gaming news, just discussing about a few bits and bobs that have been happening. And then our community favorite, we're going to be doing our gaming confessionals, and this week we're going to be discussing Game Rage, and I am looking forward to that one. Just to see and get a feel for our panel, the GPG crew, and our guest. And in the chat, please get involved and let us know about your Game Rage stories, because I'm sure there's quite a few of those out there. But before we do any of those great things, let's move on to the panel and our guest this week. And we'll go in order. First up, SX2, Scott. Scott, how the devil are you, my friend? What have you been up to this week?
I'm good, man. Thank you very much for having us. I mean, literally the only thing I've played this weekend pretty much is what you see on the screen right now. I've been playing a hell of a lot of the Halo Infinite technical preview.
You do surprise me.
Yeah, with a sprinkling of other things, I guess, but nothing too much else. I mean, I completed Death's Door, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. I made a start on Last Stop, which came to Game Pass recently, but then these past couple of days have really just been this with a sprinkle of maybe something like Apex or Rocket League. So I've been really enjoying playing the beta, but I'm sure we'll come on to that in a bit more detail soon.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's cool. And I'm looking forward to hearing some of your takes on some of these, particularly, obviously, the Halo Infinite flighting test. And I know a few people in our chat have also been lucky enough to get their hands on that. And I'm intrigued to know about the bot experience as well. I was a little bit dismayed to hear that it was bots at first, but people are still having a great time playing that. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. Puxley, my normal wingman who's looking after the chat and stuff. How the devil are you, my friend? And what have you been up to?
Evening, yes, an evening chat. It feels like it's been a while. I know we've been on and off for the last couple of weeks, haven't we? But almost feel like I'm out of practice. But no, I'm very well, thank you. Kind of all settled back to normality now. Been playing a lot of games this week, as I'm sure we'll be talking about very soon. Absolutely loving Death's Door. Played some Omno. Playing some of the Ascent. Oh man, there's been quite a few little things. I know we'll delve into it a bit more during the show. But for me, it definitely feels like all of the bigger games I've been looking forward to are now all coming out all at once, and I can't wait to just tuck into what I've already played as well as what's due to come out in the very near future.
Absolutely, and like I say, August, we're in August already, and we're not many months off from actually Halo Infinite actually launching. It just doesn't feel real, to be honest, but to see some actual gameplay footage certainly makes it that much make it feel like it's that much closer to us. So it's quite exciting.
Can I just quickly add as well, happy belated birthday for yesterday as well. I know a number of people in our Twitter and stuff are aware that it was your birthday. Hope you had a good day.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, I did have a very good birthday. Yeah, thank you very much. I am now 45, so I'm officially an old bastard. And, I'm allowed to grumble. I'm allowed to be a miserable old bastard. That's fine. And we'll probably come on to that probably during the gaming confessionals a little bit later on. But yeah, no, thank you for that. And not only that, it's actually GPG's birthday last Monday, I believe.
It was, yeah.
Yes, we are 1 year old, and I've got to be honest, we did have some things planned, but life gets in the way sometimes, and there's some other things going on in the background which has prevented perhaps us kind of doing some of the things that we'd like to. But I am not going to give up on the anniversary vibe, so we are going to do some special things, particularly with our community, as and when we can. So keep your ears peeled for that. But let's move on. Without any further ado, let's go to Ash from XBL Party Podcast. How the devil are you, my friend? Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again. It was great to be on last time, so I'm really glad to be back. Yeah. And pretty good. It's been a good week this week, so nothing to complain about my end. The main thing I've been playing is Last Stop. I've completed that all the way through, and then I've gone back and got all the achievements that I missed. And then obviously I've been playing some of the games we'll be talking about in a bit, so I'll not go into too much detail. But mainly Last Stop, absolutely loved it up until the last chapter where I thought it sort of went off the rails a little bit, but still a really solid game. And it's nice to not be sort of in a hardcore action game for a change, something where I can just sort of take it as my stride and just enjoy the sort of story and discussions they were all having between the characters. And it's sort of filled that gap between the sort of like Life is Strange and Telltale games I haven't had in a while.
Yep. It was peculiar because my daughter started playing that, and there's not much doing, is there? I mean, it's quite an easy game to actually physically play. But from a spectator, it was a fantastic thing to watch. I really enjoyed watching her play that, and to be honest, she hasn't finished it. But I wasn't quite sure where the story was going to go, and I still don't actually. I've not got to the point where it all starts making sense yet. But no, I was really enjoying watching that game. So I should have put that on my list, really, shouldn't I? Perhaps we'll do that next week. No, thank you for being here, my friend, and welcome back. And last, and certainly by no means least, Luke, thank you very much for hosting the show last week. It was absolutely fantastic. I was away on a break. Pucks couldn't make it back in time from an airport run. Like I say, life gets in the way sometimes, but I'm so pleased and so proud of the GPG crew that we have and the community that back us up, that we're able to carry on regardless. Luke, thank you very much, my friend. How the devil are you, and what have you been up to?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It's very different. It's a very different experience leading it than it is just sitting here and chatting nonsense for 2 hours in response to something. Yeah. But it's a good one. Yeah. So I've been quite a good gaming week actually. I think mostly due to everything that's come out. So I've finished Death's Door yesterday. In fact, completed that. I've been playing the Ascent a little bit, not loads. There's some issues I've got with the PC version, which I'm sure we'll come on to.
Yes, I've heard about that. Yeah,
which is odd. I've played a little bit of Omno, not too much. That's something I'll probably dive more into. I've been quite enjoying Flight Sim on the Series X. Just really seeing that running on consoles has been really cool. I've been cursing the Halo gods for not giving me access to the technical preview, while seeing, I'm pretty sure, all of the world getting access, at least according to my Twitter. So yeah, it's been a really good week for gaming actually. Loads of good stuff, and there's still stuff to come. It's been a good time.
And one of the reasons it's been such a fantastic week in gaming is actually pretty much solely down to Game Pass in lots of regards, isn't it? I mean, there's so many fantastic games landing on that service this week alone, let alone sort of last month and the coming months. It's just fantastic. In fact, the only one that's on our list today that's not on Game Pass is Death's Door. And to be honest, it's a great game. I get frustrated as hell with it, but we'll come on to that in a second. But to be honest, with all of those quality games that we've had landing Game Pass, spending money on Death's Door seemed like a no-brainer. It's not, you don't have to pick between certain games if your budget is tight. You can have, as long as obviously you can afford Game Pass and a few other games, then, it does open the door to being able to play so many more games. It's such a fantastic service. Excellent. Thank you, Luke, for being here, my friend. Chat, you're next on the list. You are always our last panel member. Thank you all very much for being here. We've got some great chat going on already. Pyro Matt, happy birthday yourself for last Friday. Fantastic. Super Cosmic Puma, Shizno Elite, Baldman Gamer, Judzilla Music, Invader Gaming. It's Myseko. It's fantastic to see you guys here. I'm sure we'll have the regulars pop in later. We've got Wandering Dutch. Congratulations to you, my friend, as well, for hitting the 1,000 subs on YouTube. That is no mean feat by any stretch, and you did it just over a year. It was such a shame you didn't manage to do it within the year, but I'm sure you'll take it a few days after or a few weeks after, and congratulations, my friend. Absolutely deserved, and love watching your channel grow and see where it's going, so that's fantastic. Shall we crack on with topic one then, gentlemen? So, I know you kind of covered Death's Door a little bit last week and stuff, but I thought it'd be quite handy because I'd like to have a bit of a discussion around it, and I know Pucks obviously wasn't on last week's show, and perhaps we'll come to you first, Scott, if that's okay. But So what's your initial impressions of Death's Door? I mean, you've actually completed it. I've not got that far. I think I'm probably about a third of the way in, but what was your overall impressions, and did it frustrate the hell out of you?
Yeah, so I guess had I completed it last week? I can't remember if I had completed it by the time last week's show came about. But I think really just to put it plain and simply, Flab, it's my game of the year so far, by some margin. It's it was frustrating. When we spoke about it last week, I kind of mentioned how it reminded me in some ways of Ori.
Yes.
There's obviously a lot of quick respawns, a lot of frustrating moments, a lot of trial and error. But that's kind of part and parcel of the game, I felt, because you're kind of learning from your mistakes each time. You're learning more about the patterns of the enemy, or particularly the bosses, with each death, and it sort of helps you progress as you go through. But I absolutely loved the game. It was wonderful, and to think that game was made by a team of two. I know they had some help as well, but the team Ascent behind it, there's just two guys from Manchester, and there's just so much to love about it. The combat, the gameplay, and the unsung hero of the game is probably the music and the sound design in it as well, which is top notch. So yeah, it genuinely is sort of easily my game of the year so far, mate. I absolutely loved it. I know Pucks, I think, actually 100%ed it. I think I saw this week. I haven't quite got that far. I've moved on to other things since, but I have left it installed so I can go back and maybe tackle some of the challenges a bit later.
But you should compare it to Ori, because I absolutely adore the music in Ori as well. I think it's a fantastically scored game, and it really does add to the atmosphere, doesn't it? It does kind of make you want to come back and carry on. It's really an atmospheric game, and I do love it, and I love the storyline behind it and the art direction. It is pretty fantastic. But like I say, I do find it as irritating as hell. Like you say, when you die for the millionth time and you got to traverse all the way back to where you were, perhaps probably just to die again, probably a very similar fate as the last one. Depends how quicker learner you are, I guess. But
I think the game does a couple of really good things though with that. The one level, particularly the first boss, I think, with the old woman with the urns. I think as you get towards her, you're kind of, as you progress, and you're turning on the furnaces that basically make the platforms go up and down, and with each I guess furnace or the platforms that you enable, I guess it kind of unlocks a little bit of a shortcut to where you were going. So it is quite good at allowing you to skip past things as you go through. So even if you die and you go back to the door that you last spawned in, it does a good job of allowing you to sort of skip ahead to where you were. So you're not having to repeat everything all over again. At least in my experience, that was the case.
No, that's true. Like you said, there'd be the odd gate that open up or destructible wall from the other side that you can blow up, and then, like you say, you can actually traverse back quite quickly at that point. But no, that's a fair point. Well, Pucks, you liked Ori. Do you compare it to Ori? What did you make of Death's Door?
Oh, I absolutely loved Death's Door. I mean, I even tweeted that I didn't mean it literally that I was playing it non-stop, but I did play it. It was like the only game I played as much as I could when I could for a good 3-4 days until I did finish it. And then I remember when I got to the end, and then not to give anything away, but there is some post-game content which is required to 100% the game, which I don't think not everyone seems to be fully aware about from what I've sometimes seen online. So make sure to double check your surroundings and watch the final credit cutscene at the end, just to get yourself understanding how to progress. But it's so good. I mean, I've put it down for now because I've obviously started playing. I played Omno and I've started playing the Ascent and a few other little things. But I do also want to try and get the achievement to go through the game only using the umbrella as well, which is almost like a fake hard mode, if that makes sense. And that is an achievement. I think it's with 100G. It's a shame I didn't think to do it the first time round, but then again, I think the game is punishing enough as it is. So it's kind of good to know ahead of time what you're expecting. But similar to what Scott was saying, like the music and everything, the music and audio in the game is absolutely incredible. And also, again, what Scott was saying, I kind of call them fake checkpoints in a way, because especially after the Urn Witch woman, when you start going into like the forest and you go to do the Frog King in the second area, some of the sections can be really long, but then, as Scott was saying, you get to parts where you open it, like you use a switch and you activate like a ladder or something, and then you realise when you do eventually die that, oh, actually, it's just created this really short path to get to where I did die, and then you can continue on from there.
It's quite generous in that respect, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But no, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And for such the game is small, but then there's all these little details hidden throughout so, like, all these little nooks and crannies and stuff, and you really have to look around to try and find all of the like little collectibles and some of like the logs as well, and the way the story's told actually. So when you finish one section, you go back to like the main commission area, and you see like these little like logs from reapers that were used to work there or whatever it was, and then you kind of start to understand the story and kind of like the dark history that it kind of appears to have, and then it all kind of opens up at the end. And the way it's just run like that as well is absolutely fantastic, and the way the story just slowly kind of, it doesn't directly tell you, but it is kind of slowly guiding your hand as to what's roughly going on and what's going to happen. And the way it's just like the execution is just almost flawless in my book, and it's definitely my game of the year so far, I think.
Okay, I was going to ask you that. Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's good to know. Excellent. Well, Ash, have you been having a similar experience, or have you not played Death's Door? I can't remember what you said.
I have played it, but it's not my type of game. Now, I wasn't going to go and get it on launch, and then I saw all the good reviews and all the awesome sort of like social media posts and stuff, and like the thing where you can chop the sign in half and it cuts the text box in half, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. It looks so polished, so I picked it up. I've not played a lot. I've only really played like the first area, and I got my backside handed to me quite a lot by is it the Guardian of the Gate or something, like basically the building with like the sort of like spinning arms, and I got extremely frustrated at it and sort of raged off before I really sort of exploded. I will go back to it because it plays fantastic. It's such a smooth and well-built game, and it handles fantastic, and the combat is super smooth and that, and I love it. But this isn't the type of game I would normally play ever. I'm not like a fan of Dark Souls or anything like that either. But I will get through it one way or another. It's just I can only play it in sort of like hour-long bursts at a time.
You know what? I'm exactly the same. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it, but because of, like we were saying, the music and just the atmosphere and the art direction, it just keeps sucking me back in. I'll just keep going back to it just to get some punishment. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I do like it, and I don't know. I don't get a massive sense of achievement when I actually complete a boss or anything like that, because I think I've been so frustrated in the meantime. But I'm just keen to see what's going to happen next, in all honesty, and following the story and stuff. But it's a very interesting game, and like you say, different strokes for different folks. It's probably not the sort of game that I would pick up and play non-stop. Like I say, I'm very much piecemeal when it comes to that type of game, because my frustration levels go through the roof. But Luke, I suspect you may have a different story. How do you find Death's Door? Are you the sort of gamer that can sort of play it for hours on end, or do you have to play it piecemeal as well?
So I played it for hours on end, really. I mean, I'm a big Souls fan anyway, bit of a glutton for punishment like that. Finished Demon Souls on PS5 last year, which was, I mean, I played it on PS3 as well, but I love those sorts of experiences, and this isn't too dissimilar to the core loop that you have in those, so I felt quite comfortable with it. I played it. I think my end play time ended up being, as I say, I finished it loosely, noting what Pucks has said, but there's no way I'm going to do that because it looks quite intense, and I can't be bothered. So I finished the main playthrough at about, I think it was about 8.5 hours, which I think is about right.
Okay.
And I didn't really struggle on any of the bosses apart from the very, very last one, which I won't spoil. And that one had some weird attack patterns that that took me a little bit to get to grips with, because I think with these games, I think the mistake, and I totally understand why people get frustrated at them, but the mistake always rests with you as a player. Never the enemy. You know very quickly if it's the enemy being unfair. And the best thing that Souls games do is they give you all the tools and show you all the things you need to do to be able to beat something. It's just up to you to apply them. So, and this is very similar. You've just got to learn the enemies, and then once you learn them, they become very easy. But that very last one took me a lot longer than I thought it would to get to grips with, and also because it's a slight, again, not spoilers, but it's a bit of a gauntlet, that fight. There is stuff that leads up to it, and yeah, so it's quite intense. But I as an experience as a whole, I absolutely loved it. It's not my game of the year, although it is very close. It's definitely up there. And I didn't really have any. I think, I didn't have any frustration with it or any negative things I can say about it. And I think that's the biggest positive I can give it in a way, which is that nothing stuck out to me as bad or could have been better. I just thought it was brilliant. Music, as Scott said, is fantastic. The art is brilliant. You know, it's a very good looking game. Controls really well. Yeah, I just really, really adored it. I just thought it was a very, very cool experience. And, you know, more games like that, please, because I love them.
Yeah, no, fair enough. No, fair comments. No, that's all great. And like I say, you know, I am probably that's about a third of the way through, and I will complete it. That I do have that within me that I do want to complete it. So I'm not going to give up on it. I will not let it beat me. But excellent. Okay, well, let's move on to our next game then. And Flight Sim. And I know there's been some people that have tried Flight Sim for the first time and probably wasn't quite their thing. It is absolutely a simulator. So, and obviously flying a plane isn't easy. So a simulator of flying a plane is inherently going to be a difficult thing to do. There's obviously lots of options to make that a lot easier. And Scott, again, we'll come to you first if that's all right, mate, because I know we've had a few conversations on this show alone about how the Series S will perform with Flight Sim. And I know you have a Series S and you were going to try it out. What's your report?
Yeah, well, I guess all I can say is it still looks and plays fantastic, if I'm being completely honest. I've tried it on both. I'm not admittedly really into the game, if that makes sense. I was kind of more interested just from like a technical curiosity perspective. I wanted to give it a shot, and
you flew over your house, I guess.
Well, I flew more or less into my house because I'm really bad at it. Okay. So the first thing I did, which actually I thought was pretty cool, is I think they call activities, where you kind of just pick a location and you're already flying, which I thought was fantastic, because it kind of, you're already flying, so you don't have to worry about taking off. It gives you sort of like a really relaxing sort of ambient music that you don't get in sort of the world map that you play, and it takes you to sort of some gorgeous location in the world, such as the pyramids or something like that. So that was the first thing I delved into, and the first thing that you notice, and this applies to both the Series S and the X, is just, Jesus Christ, how good does this thing look? The performance, at least to my eyes at least, was pretty solid. I didn't, other than maybe once or twice, I didn't really notice any real frame rate dips or anything like that. It seemed to be more or less solid. And so overall, it was a pretty fantastic achievement. And, you know, I've not tried it on PC, but, you know, someone like Luke has told us maybe some of the struggles he's had to get it at higher frame rates on his beast of a rig. And the fact that it works so bloody well in the Series S is nothing short of astounding. When it gets to the kind of the world map side of things, that's when you've got to pick a plane, you start where you want to go, and then you've got to take off. And kind of that's when, I think, if you haven't played it, like it's 1-to-1. A flight that takes 6 hours in real life will take 6 hours in the game. So kind of you take off, and if you're in a slower plane, things can take a little bit of time. But so it's not my type of game, and I'm probably not going to delve into it too much. But just like I say, purely from a purely from sort of a technical perspective, it is truly astounding, and like I say, it works flawlessly on the S as well, which I'm really pleased to report.
Well, I mean, it's been a technical showcase since it launched on PC about a year ago now, I believe. And like you say, Luke, I'm going to come to you next if that's okay, Luke. Yeah, I know you've got a 3080 and a bit of a beast of a rig, and even you struggled to get it to run at a consistent frame rate on that. So how did you find the Series X version? Was that pretty impressive?
Yeah, it was very impressive. I was really impressed by it almost instantly. Yeah, it's a super demanding game, and they have done kind of in tandem with the console versions. And unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to try it out yet, but they have done a significant update to the PC version as well, which apparently improves performance dramatically. So I'm hoping that I might be able to get 60 FPS out of it, but we'll see. I think, you know, it's a great achievement. Genuinely, I'd say in terms of putting aside the frame rate, the settings quality looks very comparable to the kind of ultra PC settings, just going off it. So I think that's, on the Series X at least, I know on the Series S it's toned down a bit, but it still looks very impressive. So I think that's an astonishing achievement, to be honest, for such a graphically intensive game. So much going on, you know, it absolutely taxes every element of the system, whether it's your RAM, your CPU, or your GPU. It works all of them. So testament to the power of, well, both consoles really, and the talent of the developers that they've been able to optimize it so well.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, it is such a showcase for that piece of hardware to show off actually what both systems are actually. I mean, who ever thought you'd see Flight Sim on a gaming console? Yeah. I mean, that in itself is just nuts. But for it to run like it does, it's just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and you know, I think it really it's the first next gen showcase on the series consoles. Like, it's the first game that I think you look at and you go, wow, that's next gen. So that's really impressive. I think there are issues with it, not from a technical perspective. I mean, there are some frame rate chugs here and there, but that's to be expected, especially when you get into dense urban areas. I think the menu interface is pretty poor for consoles. They didn't spend a lot of time trying to map that to a console experience. It's literally the PC interface with a Destiny style cursor, which isn't good. It's not good at all.
It's not even good in Destiny, never mind. And Flight Sim is a poor implementation of it as well.
Exactly. When you've got 500 different things that you need to click on, etc., it's even less good, isn't it? So
was you impressed that obviously Digital Foundry found that if you set your console to 120 frames a second, that it actually runs at an uncapped frame rate, which was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, it's cool. You know, it's I wouldn't bother with it, but I think it's still really impressive. So yeah, and I think, I mean, in terms of the game itself, I don't want to be too problematic, but I did find it quite interesting that a lot of people were hyping this up, particularly Metascores, etc., and you know, the experience, because I knew as soon as it came out, many of the same people would play it for about 20 minutes and then drop it instantly, because it is not, I mean, it is one of the most niche games you could play. Like, it's on that level. So it doesn't surprise me that a lot of people have said, look, it's not for me, and that's totally fine, because it's a simulator. It's really just for a very specific audience that likes that stuff, and even then you might not be that into it. But I'm just glad that it's come to console, because as a piece of tech, it's incredible. It's awesome. Yeah. You know, it's a fantastic thing. So yeah.
See, I've loved Flight Sim for many decades, as it were. All the way back to 2002, I think. I remember having Flight Sim 2002, I think it was. Then there was 2007. I could probably go through them. But, I mean, I love flying the big airliners and stuff, because I'm a boring bastard. And so to have that, but to be able to do that on sat on my sofa in front of my TV is just such a fantastic experience, even though it is a little bit clumsy on a gamepad and stuff. It is a great experience. Ash, Flight Sim, did you give it a go? Is it for you or not?
Yeah, I mean, we installed it and played it sort of multiplayer on the day it came out, and I mean, multiplayer isn't really, there's nothing to it other than you're just sort of in the same vicinity as each other, and one of you flies around in like a ghostly form to the other. You can't you can't connect with each other, thankfully, because we would have probably
crash into each other.
No, you can't do anything. I mean, I crashed enough, never mind with someone else flying around. But we kind of struggled to get into a lobby and into a game to begin with, just because of the UI and the menu isn't ideal. But when we did get in, we had a great time. We played for hours. It looks fantastic. It plays. I mean, I've got it on the Series X, and it runs amazing. It looks amazing. It's a real sort of show point. I mean, I don't think I'll play it for a large amount of time unless I'm playing with others. it's not my cup of tea. It's just that there's so much else out, and it takes up so much space. I mean, it's 50 gig just for the cloud version. Then there was like a 20 gig patch, and then if you want all the fancy world updates that they've released for free, that was another about 100 gig or something like that. It's something stupid. It just takes forever to install it. So I had to delete about 6 games off my internal just to fit it on. But I love it. It's really fun. Like I say, I mean, I don't think it works as well with a controller as it will do with a flight stick. And I remember playing Windows Night Flight Simulator on like a 95 PC, and it was awful, but it was like great memories. This is like another level. So I'd love to try it with a flight stick. I mean, I probably won't get my own because it's a lot of money for the amount of time I will probably end up putting into it. But from a showcase, and like I got to fly over my house. I only live a few streets away from an airport, so it was easy for me to find. Then Fabio from our podcast, he lives in Brazil, so we went to where around he lives, and like I say,
that's cool.
It was pretty amazing. But the best thing I found is the like the showcase ones. There's like 5 or 6, like I think you've mentioned earlier, where it's like the world things, and we were flying over like the mountains and stuff like that, and it takes you around all the sort of sites, but they seem to have been like the most sort of tweaked, and they look the best areas, and I felt they were really fantastic just to get a sense of like the scale of it, and flying over like I think it's like Mount Everest or something like that, with all the wind and the snow and everything on the tops of the mountains looked absolutely breathtaking. And you can be in there for about an hour and not even realize. I was just flying at one point, and 45 minutes had passed, and I'd not really done anything. I was just sort of flying to a destination and minding my own business, and I was extremely happy and extremely chilled. I really, really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's good. You're getting your nerd on like me. Yeah, no, that's fine. We're like-minded people. I like all of that. Pucks, just quickly, I noticed that I saw that you were playing Flight Sim for a bit. How did you find it? And should we just quickly catch up on the Flight Sim chat as well while we're there?
Well, I think you might have misread something there, I guess, because I actually I haven't jumped on Flight Sim at all. To be perfectly honest,
I thought it was. I thought I'd seen you jump into Flight Sim. I could have sworn I saw you do that, but perhaps not.
No, I haven't. I'm afraid. The last time I played it was when it first came out on PC. Was it last year? Whenever it was, July last year, whatever. Yeah. Played a bit of then, and I didn't mind it. But I mean, as a lot of people on the panel have already said, I mean, it's even though it's marketed as a game, like I know it's not a game. And when I played it before, like as you say, it's very much a simulator to the detail and degree that this same software is used to actually train pilots and stuff with proper setups. So I didn't mind playing it for about 10 minutes, but if I'm perfectly honest, I was like, yeah, this isn't a game. This is, as you say, an actual simulator, which I wasn't too fussed about downloading. And as Ash has already said, like the file size and just how long it takes to get it all installed and running for me to just enjoy it for about half an hour. If I'm honest, I just can't be bothered to go through it for, again, the little time I know I'm going to put into it, because just so many other stuff that I know I'm going to play, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And to be honest, I'm a little bit hypocritical because I'm complaining about devs doors of trying something, dying. And to be honest, Flight Sim is very much like that. You try and come into land on a 747, it all goes tits up, and you have to try it all over again. But of course, you can't just get into the glide slope, as they call it. You have to go all through the whole process of coming into the airport as well. So, it is a dedication, that game, or simulator. But it's one that I dig. It's strange, isn't it? Like I say, different strokes for different folks. What's happening with the chat on Flight Sim?
Yeah, I got a few. Just Flight Sim, or do you want some Death Store stuff as well?
There's still a little bit of Death Store. Yeah, we kind of skipped the chat on that one, didn't we?
That's right. I haven't got too many here. So Shizno Elite, we're going in Death Store. So Death Store does not hold your hand at all, but it is good. I'm stuck on the Frog King, but I'll get him. Yes, the music is perfect. Godzilla music. The music in Death Store is outstanding. Super Cosmic Puma. I've heard some really amazing stuff about Death Store. Finding out tonight that only 2 guys from Manchester made it. Mad respect.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, so that's new to me. Yeah, that is crazy.
Bullman Gamer. So this is now Flight Sim. Bullman Gamer. Flight Sim looked amazing, but it's not my kind of game, to be honest. But I did try it. Shizno Elite. I enjoyed Flight Sim more than I expected. I imagine I'll play it when I want to relax and just enjoy the view. And Popper Woody also says, the fact that it is on Series S is insane, and some serious black magic was involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is still talk about it coming to the Xbox One, isn't there? I'm guessing via game streaming, but it will be interesting to see how that happens and if it happens, to be honest. But yeah. Okay, Pucks, well, while we're with you, let's move on to Omno if we can. I'm conscious we're probably just about on time, I'm guessing. But yeah, you've completed Omno, as I have. What did you make of it? It's a sweet little game, isn't it? It's the sort of game you don't have to think too much about. And
it is, yeah.
Really enjoyable.
I mean, I suppose similar to Death's Door, this was also a game which was the love child of a solo developer made over the course of 5 years. A guy who was an animator, I believe, originally, and freelancer, and then decided to write a story and create a game and learn the whole process for the first time. So she's similarly to Death's Door in a way. Again, you've got mad respect for someone solo on their own over 5 years in their spare time putting this thing together. Obviously takes a lot of dedication. As we have said, I believe when the Indie Gamer did his review of the game, he played it on PC and said that he was getting a flawless 120 frames and, perfect, no dips or anything. But we was talking in the pre-show that, at least for me, on the Series X, I had a lot of frame dips during my experience, unfortunately. So it was kind of just quite often and randomly just fiddle between 30 and 60, and it's very noticeable.
That's jarring, isn't it?
It is. It's not right to say it's constant, but it's, you don't have a smooth 60 for at least for me, for any more than maybe 5 seconds before you start seeing dips and stuff. And obviously I'm turning the camera, other things are coming into view in the distance, and I don't know whether or not it's just an optimization issue or something going on. Again, I'm aware it's made by one person, so I could definitely forgive these things, but I'm just wondering if there's maybe a few little tick boxes somewhere that weren't checked for optimization or something. I don't know, because I know it's made in Unreal Engine.
Yeah, we were discussing in the green room that things like the draw distance for the foliage and stuff just seemed a little off. The Series X, as we've just discussed with Flight Sim, is obviously an incredibly capable machine. I'm just wondering if it's actually running the Xbox One X code, perhaps, and that it's not necessarily optimized for Xbox Series X, perhaps.
I think that could well be the case. I mean, as I say, because people that have reviewed it and played it on PC are saying that they're getting flawless performance and it actually runs like a dream, and it tells a great story, which it does. So unfortunately, it does jump about a bit at the moment, so it kind of makes sense that maybe it's running in backwards compatibility mode. I don't know, but for those listening, I don't want that to deter you, because if the game is, there's no combat or anything involved at all. No. It's very much a story, solely kind of passive story-driven game. Yeah, I did jump into it straight off of the back of Death's Door, so you can probably imagine it's quite a different experience when you're quite immediately going from one to the other. But
it's a shifting gearing, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But as I was playing it, I don't know about you, but the more when I first started, it was just like, right, okay, I don't really know what's going on here. There's not really much going on, and then I think you get to you do the first little puzzle in the kind of the swampy area, and then it takes you to, I don't know, a bit of a foresty area afterwards, and then it's all a bit bigger, and you're seeing all these creatures which you're unlocking the logs for, and then you see this large beast thing that you're going around on, and then you hear the music. The music's quite phenomenal, in my opinion.
Yep.
Especially when you're transferring from one area to the next. But I got a journey from originally on the PS3 and PS4, if you remember that game. I definitely got journey vibes from that, and it was definitely that sense of, it's so passive that it kind of, if you're watching it, you think, well, there's not really much to this. Why would I bother playing it? But when you are playing it, I don't know why, it's quite intriguing how it kind of drew me into it to the point I was like, actually, I want to see how this guy ends. Like, what happens at the end, And for those that have finished it, I know you said you finished it. I was quite underwhelmed with the ending, if I'm perfectly honest.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I kind of got to the point where I think to be honest, I didn't read many of the logs that you collect either. I kind of skimmed through the text a bit, and I realised that it was kind of a bit of backstory, but not much from what I could tell, and to the point I didn't really care for it. And then when I did get to the end, it was like, oh, is that it? Like, well, what was the point of this then?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, no, it does do that, and like you say, it's quite an abrupt end as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't really ease you into it. It just kind of happens and then shutters, and then game done, the end. And it was just like, all right, okay. I did enjoy it. I'm not knocking the story per se, but it's very lightly told anyway, and kind of the ending almost, I don't want to say ruined or anything for me, but it threw me off guard, I guess, to what happened, to the point it was just like, well, what was the whole point of this? And then, but maybe that's it. Maybe it's one of those weird, like, subliminal messaging type things where it's, the ending isn't really the end, or that kind of jazz.
You'll wake up in the middle of the night and it'll all make perfect sense.
Yeah. maybe, yeah. But no, I did really enjoy the game, and I do encourage you in chat, if you're yet to jump in, to definitely give it a go.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Luke, Ash, Scott, have you guys tried Omno? Are you keen? If you haven't, are you keen to give it a go?
It's on my backlog. I'm getting to the last stop, and then I'm probably going to jump on the Ascent, which we'll come on to in a second. Then maybe after that, just to maybe touch on something that you guys are speaking about there. I do think it is just an Xbox One game. I don't think it's optimized for Series X or S, so we'll just be playing in backwards compatibility mode, because I did actually install it straight to my external, which is sort of the telltale sign, because it normally hits you up straight away and says, you need to install this on your internal, that sort of thing. So but even then that doesn't quite make sense, because you'd think, fair enough, if it's running the 1X code, then there's a hell of a lot more power for it to maybe run that code a little better. But so I'm really looking forward to checking out. Obviously a little bit of a change of pace compared to a lot of the other things I play, so hopefully I'll get to it soon. Yeah,
no, that's cool. Shall we move on to the Ascent? Who's given the Ascent a go? I've probably given it, I don't know, an hour of my time. I kind of enjoy it. A bit like Pucks with Omno, I can't really be bothered with the story, if I'm honest. I know that sounds awful, because people spend a lot of time, effort to put all of this stuff together. I just want to go and shoot and break things, to be honest. Has anyone had a go on the Ascent? What do they make of it? I mean, graphically, it's phenomenal. But
I've jumped into it. It's weird. That's what I just said there about Omno going from Death's Door to that game, and then obviously with the weird performance issues. I know Scott's just corrected me there, saying yes, it's running Xbox One stuff, but knowing they're both made in Unreal Engine, and you jump from Omno straight to the Ascent and just see how well it plays, it's absolutely phenomenal. And I was blown away by how great it looks aesthetically as well, and knowing it's made by a team of, I think it's about 15, I believe, of ex-AAA, I say ex-AAA, they are AAA devs that are doing their own little thing now, but I was absolutely blown away graphically of how well it looked, and I really like how it plays as well. But I am with you, actually. I'm kind of trying to understand the story a bit, but with these, what I call Diablo-likes in a way, for the most part, I will just skim the button, and as you say, you follow the objective marker, shoot shit, and then get the collectible at the end, whatever it is, and then go back, get your reward, level up, and rinse and repeat, I guess. But yeah, I'm absolutely loving the game, actually. It's one of those games I think it's definitely going to take a while, so I'm not going to be on it 24/7, so to speak, especially the fact there's so many new games coming to Game Pass throughout August, but it's definitely going to be something I'm going to keep jumping back to.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Chat, what do you make of this set? Let us know if you guys have picked it up and what you make of it. Luke, have you had a dabble on this set yet?
Yeah, I have, yeah. So I've played it on PC and Series X, actually. The PC, so I mean, as a game, it's I've not gone too far into it, probably about an hour or so, maybe an hour and a half, and it's good. It's not incredible from what I played so far, but I'm only early into it, so I'm not going to give it a full scope out yet. But it is enjoyable. Graphically, as you say, it's incredibly impressive. It looks really fantastic. A Series X version runs very well.
Better than PC, which is unusual. I know there's reasons behind that, but it's a bit bizarre, isn't it?
Specifically, so the PC Game Pass version is very strange. It, for some reason, doesn't have DLSS, even though it's in the menus. You just can't disable, you can't do anything with it on the PC Game Pass version. If you buy the Steam version, you can, it works flawlessly. Equally, on the PC Game Pass version, the ray tracing options are there, but they don't do anything. So you can switch them on and off. It makes no impact. Ray tracing's not enabled. Again, very strange, because the Steam version doesn't have that issue. So that's really, really frustrating, because I get that they're not exactly the same. The Steam version isn't the Game Pass version, but it's really poor for it to come out on one PC ecosystem, as it were, and for it to be a second-class game. compared to the other one. So that's frustrating. And also it has these really terrible moments of stutter. So so it runs, so for example, on my rig, so I can run it at native 4K with all the settings cranked up, apart from ray tracing, obviously. And I'll get about 90 FPS on average, which is great. Okay. That's good performance. Except when you go into a firefight, it continues to be 80, 90 FPS, except suddenly it will chug to about 15. Just a huge stutter in the engine. I don't know what's causing it. I know that they're trying to figure that out and work on it, and they're also working on the other elements, which is great. But it's really not. It's not a good look for the game, and it really gives a bad impression. And so I'm a bit soured on it for that reason at the moment. I'm not, because I want to play it on PC because I want the ray tracing and stuff. So I don't want to get too far into. I mean, I can. It saves you progression across Game Pass, so it's fine. I could play on Series X, but that's kind of where I want to play it. So it's good. It's good. It's got very divisive reviews, which I found really interesting. Very positive in some quarters, and then super negative on the other side of it. So I'll be interested as I play more of it to see where it actually lands for me. But yeah, it's an interesting game.
Okay, no, that's pretty cool. Like I say, it was bizarre to see the Xbox Series X version running better than PC, but there are obvious reasons for that. Ash, is this something you've dived into?
No, not yet. I've got it installed, but it's like I say in the pre-show, there's been so much out this week, and I sort of devoted my time to other things.
It's crazy, isn't it? Well, I don't ever remember a week like this on Game Pass history. This has been the biggest week, I think, in Game Pass history, surely, for sort of launch titles like that.
Oh, yeah, it's been fantastic. But I am really looking forward to playing Omno. It was the one I wanted to play more than anything. Okay. And for one reason or another, I just haven't started it yet. So, unfortunately, I'm going to pick that first, play that probably in the next couple of days. Because it's not a long game, I don't think. And then I'm going to jump into the Ascent sort of a day or two after I've got through that. So, by end of next week, I'll have started it. Because it's just, out of all of them, I'm trying to sort of juggle what I play now.
What a brilliant problem to have, though. So too many games, not enough time. It's a fantastic problem to have. Yeah, no, absolutely. Scott, the Ascent, is that? Have you downloaded that? Is that on your list?
Yeah, I've only played about 30 minutes so far, so I'm not too far in. The thing that stands out to me, as a few people mentioned, is just how bloody good it looks. The particle effects when things explode, which happens quite regularly, are like genuinely fantastic. But I haven't really had a chance to really delve into the story. The twin stick mechanics were a little unusual at first, because it's been a while since I've played a game like that. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, especially considering sort of like the angle at the top down views at.
The sort of isometric twin stick isn't something that I'm particularly used to be honest.
Yeah. So kind of like when you're holding a certain direction on your right stick to shoot, kind of my natural instinct sort of to point down was pointing directly down, but it was down from the character, so it was kind of slightly off. It took us a little while to adjust. So, but I'm looking forward to diving in. It's probably a game I'm going to play more co-op, so it's just trying to get a few people together more than anything. So, but I'm looking forward to playing more.
Excellent. Yes. Well, I mean, we're all a little bit cyberpunk hungry, aren't we? After Cyberpunk 2077, unfortunately. I mean, I still haven't. I'm probably not even halfway into that game, and I haven't picked it up again since, if I'm honest. So, if you're into the cyberpunk vibe, then perhaps the Ascent is the way to go. But that kind of brings us neatly on whilst you're on, Scott, to Halo Infinite. Just before you do, we've got a couple of comments. I'll field these if that's okay. Pucks, Papa Woody, the Ascent is a funny game. It looks awesome, but I was struggling to get into it. But when I got something done or got a new gun, I felt satisfied and then wanted to keep going, which I agree that the power-ups are pretty cool. I do love power-ups in games, particularly I think Death's Door does that thing where it paces itself, perhaps a little slowly actually for my taste, but you know, there's more power-ups to come, and there's, you're traversing the levels and you see things that you can't actually interact with yet until you get a certain power-up. I love all of that in games. Ballman Gamer, you're all wrong skipping the story. If I had a belt, I'd be calling it out. Shame. Yeah, to be honest, playing these games, particularly story-based games, is such an investment. And unless, I'm guessing you're really into that particular genre of game, then buying into all of the sort of the audio logs and all of the story and stuff is quite a commitment, particularly when you've got so many other fantastic things going on at the same time. She's No Elite says he's been hooked on the Ascent. Been difficult to put it down. But he's been playing the Halo beta, and that kind of brings us neatly on to Scott SX2. He was the only one out of all of us that I believe was lucky enough to receive his email to play the flighting beta. So give us a synopsis of what you made of it. It's obviously playing now. This is your footage. I'm guessing you could only, do the shooting range and matches versus bots, but was it enjoyable?
Yeah, really enjoyable. So I guess, as I said in the pre-show, Flap just shut us up when you need to move on. So, but obviously, please ask any questions as well for anyone that's interested. So, yeah, just to maybe set the scene, so to speak. The beta offers sort of two modes of firing range, which was sort of at the beginning of the video, which I'm sure we'll see at some point, which is kind of just like it's like a score attack type of thing, where you select a weapon and then you've got to get a certain amount of points, which is a pretty interesting way just to learn the feel of the weapons, like fire rate, the accuracy, that sort of thing. And then there's the multiplayer bot matches. And then when they first launched it, the bots were kind of the simplest version of the bots. And then when I took this footage, they had upgraded the bots to like the next level. And then as of today, they're upgrading them again to kind of be more and more difficult. And then it began with one map, which is this map that you see right here now. So this is the first map. I can't remember its name if I'm being honest. And then they added the second map, which was Recharge, and then they added a third map just today, actually, which I managed to grab a little bit of footage of this morning as well. So, and honestly, as a Halo fan, it's bloody fantastic, if I'm being completely honest with you. I should probably point out that this footage here is actually taken from my Series S as well, not from my X, actually. The best way to describe it, particularly for people who are fans of Halo, is it's a really good mix of, say, Halo 2 or 3 mixed with 5. So it manages to blend sort of the classic Halo feel with the sort of modern, I guess, the modernizations that sort of Halo 5 brought into. So
you've got sprint buttons and things like that.
Yeah, you do. And some people have taken like footage of it, and they've kind of worked out it's actually only about 2% faster than running without sprint. It's kind of more of a visual thing. You'll notice when I'm sprinting, the guns kind of go from side to side, and it's kind of like airlines, and you can actually turn those speed lines as they come. You can turn them off, which gives it at least the feel that you're sprinting. But people have done tests, and it's really not that much faster. But the biggest change that they made to that is you now can restore shields while sprinting, while in Halo 5 you couldn't, which was kind of like, it was like that trade-off where if you sprint, you were sacrificing your ability to recharge shield, but obviously you were gaining the speed. So, but yeah, they've really nailed it. I mean, it's probably worth mentioning this is a technical beta, but genuinely I had zero technical issues sort of throughout on Series X and S. The game is actually I couldn't take advantage of it, but the game's actually running 120 FPS on Series S and X apparently as well, with no way of actually changing it down to get maybe a higher fidelity version. And yeah, just everything about it was great. The map design's awesome. It has that really sort of good arena feel of some of the earlier Halo 2 and Halo 3 maps in particular. The weapons are fantastic. The BR feels more like the Halo 2 BR. The sound of it is awesome. The variety of the weapons is really good as well. And yeah, that what's
the pistol? What's the pistol like? What sort of game is that pistol from? Because I'm guessing it's not Combat Evolved type pistol.
No, it's more like 5. It's more like the Magnum from 5. Yeah, and it's kind of like your basic start weapon, but it's really, really good. Actually, the pistol. Like I say, all the weapons feel good. I think some of the previous Halo games have had an issue where maybe some of the guns you don't use them because they just kind of feel a bit useless. I think the assault rifles felt like that on some games, but on this one they've actually hit a really good balance of each gun feels good in the right situation. Obviously, if you use an assault rifle at range, it's not gonna necessarily work, but up close it is still it will still rip through you. And the bots were no pushover as well, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, most games you were winning by sort of 30 points, 30 to 40 points, but like if you try to take on 2 bots at the same time, you were getting smashed when they upgraded them. So I'm interested to see sort of how they managed to take them up again. So, and there's, I mean, again, something when you want flat, but there's like a lot of really nice sort of quality of life improvements that they made. They've got rid of the old red versus blue, and I was in the settings before. Okay. You can actually change the colors of like of your teammates and of the enemy. So you can see there at the moment I've got it set to yellow because I was playing around to see which one I like the best. And so yeah, there's really is very little negative I can say about it. To be honest, the only thing is I'm good that it's ending tomorrow, and I'm not going to be able to play Halo anymore because it was really nice to play. And in the second set of footage I've got, we got some of the equipment in there, like the grapple shot, which is super satisfying. You got
to play with it, did you?
Yeah, and I managed to get a clip of it, so you can grapple somebody and then you can melee them as you come in, and that kills them as well. Nice. So, yeah, it is really good. I was playing with somebody on PC who did have some technical issues. It does seem like the PC version isn't quite as smooth as maybe the console versions. But other than that, yeah, there's really very little negative I can say. But I should caveat that with that. I am a massive Halo fan, so I'm going to add in the sort of second set of footage here. So while I guess if anyone else wants to maybe ask any questions, there'll be some of the footage.
I've got a question for you quickly, actually.
Yeah, go for it.
So I understand. My understanding is that this flight test was mainly to help train the bots as well. So are you only playing against bots, or is it other players as well?
Yeah, so it's literally just 4v4 bots. So it's matching 4 people, like 4 real players together. So it's not like me and 7 bots. It's 4 real players versus 4 bots. Okay. They're actually changing that tonight. They're going to be introducing, it's going to be too late for us in the UK, unfortunately, but they are going to be introducing 4v4 sort of players as part of the test right at the end. But it's probably going to be a little too late for me, I'm afraid. So, yeah, but even despite the fact it's against bots, yeah, like I said, it felt great.
I also have a question from Super Cosmic Puma, if that's all right. So
yeah,
they ask, are there noticeable changes in the weapons, feel, fire rate, damage, etc., AR or Needler as an example?
Yeah, so I kind of touched on the AR before. I think previous Halo games, the ARs felt a little shit, if I'm being honest. Kind of like it doesn't really fit anywhere because it doesn't do enough damage up close, where you're still better off having something like a battle rifle. In this, it does feel really nice. The BR kind of feels more like the Halo 2 BR, in my opinion. The Needler is kind of more along the lines of a Halo 4 or 5 Needler, where it's actually fairly powerful. It's not quite as powerful as the Halo 4 and 5 Needler, but it's kind of I guess in the middle of, say, Halo 1 or 2 Needler compared to Halo 4 or 5. And the time to kill is very familiar, although I would probably maybe say it's a little shorter than previous Halo games. But the thing is with Halos, a lot of it's kind of like, right, grenade, take off shields, one shot, headshot. So the time to kill has always been relatively short anyway, if you get it right. And so there's a lot of new weapons in there as well. I don't know if I've got it in here, but one of them's kind of like a spiker, which is basically just it's essentially a sniper rifle, but instead of a sniper bullet, it literally just fires a giant spike. It's kind of a one-hit kill, which is
yes, and it takes forever to reload, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's a really satisfying weapon to use if you nail it. And there's kind of like the Bulldog in there, which is a new kind of more semi-automatic shotgun or automatic shotgun, I guess, which differs from previous shotguns in Halo. So if you're familiar with Halo, there's nothing that I went there that stood out as being completely unrecognizable from previous Halo games, if that makes sense. They haven't drastically changed the formula too much. Everything will feel generally fairly familiar if you played any Halo apart from, I guess, from 2 onwards. It'll feel fairly familiar.
So does it not feel, or does it feel better than the other ones in that? Because I know when Flap and I played during the tournament a few months ago, obviously the pair of us had complaints that you couldn't seem to get any real kills unless you used the battle rifle and managed to get those headshots. Is it the same here? I mean, I've seen you use the
weapon balancing.
I've seen you use the assault rifle a number of times, and again, you're laying into someone and actually getting some kills of it.
Yeah.
What I consider a normal shooter result. I mean, is it that way? does it feel a bit more COD-like now, or is it still much you have to get those headshots with a battle rifle?
Oh God, I hope it doesn't feel more COD like Pucks, because I'd be bitterly disappointed if it does. No, I think the balancing, at least at this stage, does seem pretty good. As you see, I've used the assault rifle fairly regularly throughout. It really just depends on the situation you put yourself in. The pistol, the battle rifle is still kind of like a full burst kill, which is kind of typical for any Halo game. I think it's been pretty much that. The pistol's kind of like a 5 to 6 headshot kill. So 5 to 6 headshots, trying to nail that at close range is a little bit difficult, which is where the assault rifle really comes in that sort of short to medium range. So I kind of felt the balance was actually pretty good. This gun here actually is new to the game. It's called the Commando, which I actually really struggled with, because it's, some people have said it's really overpowered, but I really struggled to get kills with it. Actually, it was a little bit hard to aim, because the kick on it was quite difficult to I guess just understand, with it being a completely new weapon. But yeah, otherwise it's fairly familiar, but balanced really well in my opinion.
No, that's really cool. When does the beta come to an end? Did you say it's tomorrow?
Yeah, so I think it's 10 a.m. PST tomorrow for our American friends. So it's going to be, what's that, about 6 p.m. for us. So I might be able to delve in a little bit tomorrow. If I can maybe take an hour away from work to try the 4v4. So it's been 4 days, and I'm sure there's going to be some more. I mean, I'm pretty sure they've said there's going to be more flights going forward as well. This is just a really nice tease.
Well, I know plenty of people that were pretty perturbed that they didn't receive their email and would love to be on the second one. So is there no actually dates released or anything for the second one? Because I'm guessing they're actually going to probably start getting some of the matchmaking tested as well with, 4v4 players.
Yeah, they've not said when the next one's going to be, but this one came relatively short notice. It was kind of like a week's notice. I imagine there'll probably be at least one of these per month up until launch. If I'm being honest, this was just arena. It didn't include any battle royale. It was just 4v4. There's only 3 maps as well, so I think there'll be plenty more to go on. I think they've even said they're going to be inviting more and more people to future flights. So hopefully in the next one, look, you'll get in and we'll be able to play together, mate.
Gonna have to put all your toys back in the pram, Luke.
That's my game rage for tonight, is that I didn't get into this damn technical preview.
Excellent. Well, I'm conscious that actually, Ash, you kind of challenged us again to another round of a bit of a Halo match that we haven't really fulfilled yet, have we? We'll have to do that. That would be pretty cool to get off the ground again.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a full team now as well. We've even got spares. So
wow, he's got a subs bench. No,
so yeah, because when we first did that tournament, there was only 2 of us in the podcast, so we had to use like 2 ringers. That we'd never played with or spoke to before. So now we've got people we actually play with regularly that are in the podcast. So I'm hoping we'll not lose as quickly this time, or we may even stand a chance. We may win a couple of rounds. That's all I want. It's just a bit more fair, a bit more like of a sort of even sort of number at the end of the day on the scoreboard. That's all I need.
Yeah, no, fair enough. You know what? Let's get that on. We'll get that done in the next couple of weeks if that's okay then. Because I know I had so much fun playing in that tournament. I know everyone else did as well. And yeah, let's get that on. And I'm hoping that actually when Halo Infinite launches that we might actually do the whole podcast versus podcast tournament again. Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I'm well up for that. And if the people that didn't organise the last one don't organise it, I'm definitely up for helping to put something together like that, because it's
that's fantastic.
So fun, and we met so many awesome podcasts and sort of people from podcasts just from that tournament. It's been absolutely amazing.
Just not allowed to invite season gaming. That's fine. As long as you do that, everything's fine.
Agreed. Yeah.
Not that we're bitter or twisted or anything. Luke's still having sleepless nights.
Yeah, now and then.
Excellent. Well, fantastic. Thank you very much, everyone, for running through those games. Because, like I say, I mean, my God, what a couple of weeks this has been for being an Xbox gamer and for Game Pass itself. It's been a phenomenal week, and lots of these games, particularly the Ascent and things like Flight Sim, we've been waiting a year for. I was really surprised that actually the Flight Sim didn't launch last November. with the launch of the Xbox Series X, but obviously we had to wait all the way till July before we got our hands on that, and now we have. I personally love it. I think it's great. It's not for everyone. The Ascent, been a long time coming, but here we are. Things like Omno, it's just fantastic, and it's great to have these. And like I say, a little bit further down the line, we've got Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon 5, and all of the other goodness that's coming. 12 minutes, we've got so much great stuff coming. It's fantastic. Chat, thank you very much. You've been phenomenal. Always love getting you guys involved in all of this. Just do a very quick roll call again. We've got Papa Woody. Thank you very much. We had Pink Vibes earlier as well. Indie Gamers just popped in. Thank you for being here, peeps. Really appreciate that. And perhaps we'll move on to topic 2, and I don't think this one will probably go on too long, really. There's not too much to discuss. It's basically this kind of week's gaming news roundup. There was a few things kind of drop gaming news-wise, and I'm going to start with one that's quite disappointing, and I'm sure you all agree, and you might not know where this is going, but perhaps I'll come to you if that's all right, Luke. I mean, there's, like you said, there's not too much to discuss about it, but just, really disappointing to hear the whole Activision Blizzard disgrace, shall we call it, sort of come to the surface. And I know some of it's historic, some of it goes back to about 2013, but it does go to show that this still happens in this industry, and for some reason I don't know why the gaming industry in particular seem to suffer from this. And it's not just Activision Blizzard. Ubisoft have been through the mill and stuff, and it's just so disappointing to see. Does this sort of bad news and this bad rap affect your sort of vision of the games? I don't know if he was a World of Warcrafter anyway, but anything from Activision, it's kind of tainted now, surely.
Yeah, so Activision themselves, if we distinguish the two, just for argument's sake, nothing that they make really interests me anyway. I'm not a big Call of Duty fan, for example. Blizzard is really disappointing. I'm a very, very big Blizzard fan. Eagerly anticipating Diablo 2 remake and Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2 as well. I was a big Overwatch player, and stuff like this is it's just terrible. It's just incredibly disappointing. It doesn't surprise me, to be honest. A lot of the stuff that's come out, the game industry is still pretty male dominated. That invariably has an impact on the cultures that come from some of these companies. It's certainly not Activision Blizzard alone that have problems like this. No. It's probably pretty rampant throughout the industry. I think in some places it's better than others, for sure, and it's getting better. But it's just really disappointing. As you said, we had Ubisoft months and months ago who had similar issues as well, who seemingly said that they'd done stuff about it, but apparently haven't really done all that much, which is even more disappointing. I guess the proof will be how Activision and Blizzard respond to this, and what they actually do to make sure this kind of stuff doesn't happen in the future, because they need to change things. I think that's clear. For me, I don't think I will be buying anything of theirs coming out for a while until I see that they've changed that, that they've actually made positive changes. So yeah, it's a difficult one to talk about, as you say, but I think it's just super disappointing. And I think some as well. I think what made it even worse was the initial response of Activision to it, which was unbelievably bad. But major props and kudos to the walkout that happened.
Yep.
Which in the US in particular, labor laws in general are atrocious. So to have the bravery and the courage to actually do that en masse is fantastic. And hopefully they will continue to do whatever is necessary to get that company to change, because it's shit. So that's all I know about it, really.
No, I know that a lot of employees are forced to sign an arbitration clause in their contract.
Yeah.
So you can't take companies to court. It has to go via arbitration, which obviously the company themselves are able to control to a certain degree. But it's really sad to hear that kind of thing. But like you say, it's out in the open now, thankfully. Probably, many years too late. But hopefully, we'll start to see a good positive impact change in the gaming industry at large. And I hope other companies that are guilty of similar or exactly the same take note, and that that it does actually affect their bottom line. I hope people do think twice about paying for the next World of Warcraft patch or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's just I think we need to vote with our wallets to a certain degree. And like you say, Activision, there's not too much they're pumping out that's kind of too hot. And I know Call of Duty and stuff is probably their biggest franchise, but even that's seeing a drop off lately for various reasons. But it's quite sad that. Pucks. Actually, let's come to you, Scott, if that's all right. There was some rumours that some of the campaign files had leaked in the tech preview of Halo Infinite, which I think there was an official statement by 343, wasn't it, kind of apologising for it, and that they're a little bit worried that people are going to take advantage of that and start spoiling some of the sort of the storylines and plots. A little bit disappointing to hear that.
Yeah, I guess first of all, it's disappointing that it's in there to begin with. I think really 343 probably should have done a little bit of better job to ensure that these things couldn't be data mined. But essentially, it's not rumored anymore. It did. I think it was Sketch, the community manager, came out and basically said, first of all, they threatened to issue sort of takedown notices if this content was displayed, and they basically came out and said, look, we unintentionally left some of these campaign files that are in there, so please be vigilant. And it's a little bit disappointing that campaign spoilers exist in the multiplayer beta. I guess it can't be helped in some respects, but at the same time, they maybe should have been a little bit more careful. Look, these things happen from time to time. I understand it. So anybody who's interested, I mean, look, if we were on video now, I could show you sort of my Halo book collection that's sitting right next to me in the drawer next to me. I can't imagine there are too many people who are into the lore of Halo as much as I am. So to get the campaign spell for Infinite would be incredibly disappointing. I've already made efforts to sort of block people on Twitter who kind members of the community have highlighted as purposely sharing spoilers. I think that's the biggest problem for me, is there have been members of I guess they've been identified as sort of members of the PlayStation community who have purposely been sending direct messages to members of the Xbox community on Twitter, highlighting these spoilers that have leaked on both Reddit and 4chan. So, it's one of those things where thankfully I've managed to stay clear of them so far, and I hope it stays that way. But, we're probably a good 3 months away from launch, so it's going to be difficult to avoid them. So I can only hope that maybe they manage to sort of exclude them from any future flights that they do. But it's just all I can say to people is, look, don't be a dick. If they're out there and people want to find them, then you can go and look for them, but you shouldn't have them forced down your throat by somebody who's literally just going out to spoil somebody else's fun. So like I say, thankfully I managed to avoid them so far, because it would piss me off no end if I got a purposely spoiled by someone, if I'm honest. So hopefully I can. That's the other thing. It's too early to go dark. If this was like a week before launch, I would happily go. I would happily have media blackout, but we're talking months now, which really isn't possible. So. Yeah, just don't be a dick with these things. If you got a hold of them, just and you're interested, read them, fantastic. But there's no need to share them with anybody else.
No, absolutely. And if we can do anything as a community, it's just to make an awareness that, like I say, some of the campaign files have been leaked. That if you do get DM from spurious people, just avoid it if you can. Yeah. If you have a love for the Halo franchise and series, and seriously don't want that spoiled, then just be careful. Kind of the websites that you go to and stuff, and like you say, the messages that you open. But I guess that's all we can do as a community. It is disappointing, isn't there? There are plenty of dicks out there that are willing to spoil the fun for other people. It's just a shame, really.
It's happened before. I mean, I remember, I think it happened fairly recently with The Last of Us Part 2. for PlayStation as well. My understanding was, people were doing similar things now, which really just, it sucks. It sucks for, people who are fans of the games and who are invested in the story, So, hopefully it blows over with a bit of luck.
Yeah, no, with any luck. Pucks, let's come to you on the next one. Let's talk about PlayStation 5 SSDs. That kind of caused a bit of a ruckus this week. I think it was a bit of a mixed blessing, wasn't it? Perhaps I should have come to you as well on this one, Luke. Obviously, finally, PlayStation 5 have revealed that you're able to upgrade the internal storage, but plenty of caveats, and I think when people started to see the price of these things and the fact they needed heat sinks and all kinds of stuff, it was all starting to go a little bit weird. And I think all of a sudden it kind of sharply brought into focus just kind of how good the Xbox Series X and S expandable storage solution actually is, although obviously it got a lot of bad press for being hot and costing a lot of money. The alternative seems to be even more painful. Was you kind of surprised by this story sort of leaking out from PlayStation?
I was definitely intrigued. I mean, I think a lot of my kind of knowledge kind of began by seeing a load of posts on Twitter and stuff of people complaining about the steps required to upgrade your PS5 compared to Xbox. And then it did kind of get me thinking in a way, like, are people, I don't know, a part of me was like, is this just woke culture going a bit crazy, or is it a legitimate point? And I think, personally, I think it's between the two, because it's not the first time that Sony have put something out which requires a bit of faffing around to upgrade. I mean, for example, with the PS4, to upgrade your hard disk to an SSD or to a greater sized HDD or whatever else, I mean, you had to take one panel off, undo a screw, pull the hard drive out, but then before you could put your new one in, you had to take some files off of your PC, download them from the website, put it on the hard drive, then you put it in the PlayStation, and then it you get see what I'm getting at. That was a massive faff, and nobody complained then, but I don't know whether that's because not many people were, I don't know, too bothered about upgrading on storage space. I don't quite understand why that's caused a massive ruckus now and it didn't then.
I think the main thing there, Pox, is probably because on last gen you could just plug in a USB drive. You had that option with both the Xbox and PlayStation, didn't you? Where you could just plug in an external
That's a good point,
USB drive, and if you want to play native games, you don't have that flexibility. So you didn't necessarily have to upgrade your internal storage if you wanted more storage on PlayStation 4 or Xbox One for that matter. You could just plug in, a USB hard drive, which I imagine most of us did in the end.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. I hadn't quite considered that. I suppose, maybe it's just me, because I have a technical job, so seeing the steps to upgrade seems relative. It's pretty trivial, but I do appreciate and understand that there's a lot of people out there. Just the thought of taking a panel off of your really expensive box can seem really daunting in case you break something. I'd like to believe
Does it not void the warranty at that point? Can you do all of this with it still being in warranty? Do we know?
I believe it's a part of the official process to upgrade it. I think you avoid warranty when you actually open up to get inside to the actual internals, because when you take off the side panel, it's just you're just opening up another bit of plastic, effectively. You're not actually opening up the system. Yeah, it's kind of part of it, and then you have a screw to access the SSD bay, and then you've got your different screw points for different size M2 drives and that kind of thing. So I can appreciate people get a bit confused by it, but I suppose I don't know whether I find it confusing or shocking or not, because I know a lot of us were maybe taken aback a bit when we saw the initial prices for the 1 terabyte Series X expansion. And then I think one of the first manufacturers to come out to say that, yes, they've got like an approved drive which meets the Sony spec is Western Digital. And I've got it in front of me now. It's called a WD Black SN850 with heatsink. What's interesting is, at least here in the UK, the 500 gig model is about £141. The 1 terabyte is 220, and the 2 terabyte is 453 quid.
I think there's a 4 terabyte for 1,000 as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
At that point, you might as well buy 2 or 3 extra PS5s and take the argument.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I'm not necessarily endorsing this by any means, but one thing that has got me thinking is similarly to the Switch when that released back in 2017, because it comes with 32 gig of internal storage. Highly recommended even then that if you can, definitely get a micro SD card. micro SD cards of a sufficient size were probably similarly priced at the time. Like 128 gig, we were probably talking about 150 quid at the time, which is obviously far too expensive for what people are probably going to be putting onto the Switch. But when you look at SD cards now, and I believe it's my understanding is that it is actually the Nintendo Switch which has helped drive the prices down due to obviously demand of these cards. Is you can get a 128 gig card now for about 30 quid. Which, is a lot significantly cheaper than it was originally. And I'm kind of hoping and of the belief that, especially with these SDs, I'd like to believe that as the technology becomes more abundant and is more in demand, the prices will eventually come down. And I'd like to think similarly that actually that may also affect the Series X or the Xbox as well. Because ultimately, it's my understanding, inside of the Xbox drive it is just an M2. It's custom made, but it is just an M2 drive on a bit of PCB and on a proprietary plastic shell, effectively. So I'd like to think that all markets can necessarily benefit from this, and I believe it's just a fact of, as the demand and the supply becomes abundant, demand is always there for it. The prices will eventually come down as more of these things are existing in the wild. But it was definitely an interesting read. About people's thoughts on it, but then I suppose as Scott kind of corrected me there that yes, even though it was a bit of a faff before, you could plug in external drives, whereas obviously you can't now because you have to you can't even move things back and forth easily, I believe, can you, on PS5 compared to how you can on Xbox. So I suppose in a way it's a bit of a kick in the teeth, but I suppose the other side of me, the tech side of me, is thinking this is technically all new stuff, which is catering to a new market. I mean, I know you could argue that this stuff's been around for the PC for a long time, and the fact that the world is under an electronic component crisis at the moment. I know that doesn't necessarily make news, but if you work in the field, you will be aware that even capacitors and resistors and general components to make anything are in very, very low demand, and the prices for these really simple components has now skyrocketed just due to the lack of availability. So I'd like to think as a post-COVID world starts to go back to normality, I mean, because that is a factor here, as a lot of people maybe don't understand. I'd like to think that help drive these things lower. And again, I hope that after a year or two of demand and people wanting these things, and hopefully they become cheaper and more accessible in the long run.
Yeah, no,
Sorry,
I completely agree.
Bit of a ramble there, I'm afraid.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with all of that. And there's been some good chat going. I'm just going to very quickly come to you, Luke, if that's okay. Do you think this is a non-issue? I mean, would you bother upgrading your the SSD in your PS5? Because I think Mav has said, little Johnny, whose mum and dad aren't necessarily technically minded, as games get bigger, as the generation goes on, if he genuinely wants more storage, then it's, like you said, we're talking unscrewing things, unclipping things, and having to buy exactly the right thing. It would be a little bit daunting for the non-technical, I guess. Have Sony shot themselves in the foot a little bit, or is this a non-issue, do you think?
Difficult question. I don't think Sony have shot themselves in the foot over it, and I'll try and distinguish between my thoughts on it and the casual point. I think the casual point, I can comprehend that it will be difficult for people. I actually don't think the installation element is a difficult bit. Even for people who aren't practically minded, it's pretty simple. Right, it's pretty straightforward. Sure, it's definitely more involved than the Xbox, solution, which is a lot easier. Right, there's no denying that. It's a lot more plug and play. Great. The bit I think casuals will really struggle with is just getting an SSD to spec and to understanding what they need, and obviously getting a heat sink as well. That shouldn't be that much of an issue, I guess, because most SSDs on that range have attached heat sinks, built in, so you don't have to fiddle with one yourself. So that's fine. It's not. I don't see this really as a big surprise, though. I mean, it's the Xbox One is really straightforward because the SSD that they chose at the time was pretty much a market standard good SSD, NVMe SSD. Sony went with something way more proprietary in terms of read-write speeds, and so naturally the solution was never going to be as elegant, right? Because there weren't SSDs out there that were that capable. Like, there just weren't. You couldn't get them. Now they're starting to come out, and I actually think the prices that are being bandied about for the Western Digital ones, for example, are, what was it, 220 quid for a 1 terabyte at a read-write, 7,000 read 5,500, right? Like, or whatever it is. That's actually really good. Saying that as a PC gamer. So I'm kind of conflicted by it, because I do understand it's more difficult for casual people. It's not as elegant as the Xbox solution. There's no denying that. Do I personally care? No, I don't care at all. Okay. Funnily enough, I don't tend to buy an extra storage for consoles at all. I find 1 terabyte more than enough. I think
to be honest, if you're playing on 3 platforms, then like you say, you can kind of spread the load a little bit, can't you?
Yeah, of course. You can spread the load a lot. So, so I don't have a particular issue, but I could see it causing some headaches for people, as you say, your mum and dads who are trying to upgrade their storage for their kids. But equally, I don't know what proportion of casual players will get to the limits of the PS5 SSD. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Do you know what I mean? Like, casual players may only play a few games, in which case it's more than ample space. If they're trying to load 8, 9, 10, it's difficult, isn't it?
Well, I think the trouble with casual gamers is they tend to play the bloatware games. So like Call of Duty, there's like 120 gig ones, FIFA. That's exactly.
No, I agree with that. That's a fair point. But yeah, I'm always conscious that we operate in a bubble on all of this, and I think some people have taken some form of outrage or annoyance with it, even though either they don't have a PlayStation 5 or they just think that this is a problem because it's a problem. I don't think it's that big of a problem in the context of everything else, and I don't think it will be a huge problem going forward. And I suspect that at some point Sony will end up releasing some official PlayStation SSD that they've kind of helped co-develop, where you'll just be able to buy that off the shelf. And probably the
I was thinking all they need to do is just set up a certification system, so a particular SSD is certified as
it's probably a bit of a controversial opinion, but I tend to have those sometimes. So,
Luke, if I can just add to that, actually, because I've got similar thoughts to Luke Flap. I'll try to be quick, and I think one thing that a lot of people have failed to sort of mention is this is a beta that Sony are running for the PlayStation 5 as well. So this is only currently available to beta users. And people who are using the beta version of the PlayStation 5 sort of software are not going to be, I guess, casuals. They're going to be people who want to test out these things. And I think that's super important, because this isn't necessarily indicative of how it'll be when it's released to sort of the wider audience. Obviously, Luke touched on it. The main issue here is they haven't given you a list of drives. They're just giving you, here's a spec, and then they've said, it may not work, or it may work. They haven't necessarily gone, this is the drive you should be using. But I think what we'll probably see when it becomes sort of a feature for everybody who uses that, there will be a list of drives that they say, right, here are 10 drives that you can get that would give you normal performance. That come with a heatsink, so you don't have to worry about attaching your own and things like that. And I think while not as simple as the Xbox version, or the Xbox method will be far simpler than it is in its current form for somebody who maybe is a little less technical than others. And ultimately, the benefit is that's going to be to consumers is because you're just using the same drive that a PC user can get. These prices are likely going to come down fairly quickly. Well, not necessarily fairly quick. They're going to come down quicker than the Xbox method, because that is proprietary. We don't know if or when these additional solutions may be coming out for Xbox. At least with PlayStation, in maybe a year's time, the prices will have come down, even if by a little bit, because there's competition in that space, because it's exactly something for the PC would have. So I do think 6 months would be sort of a moot point. and maybe some people have just taken it as a method to score some fanboy points. I think I've noticed a lot of that on Twitter.
That's fair point. And to be honest,
couple of days.
One of those people were actually Xbox themselves. They was having a few little digs at how elegant their kind of solution is in comparison, I guess. Yeah. That's fair enough. It's all kind of it's friendly competition, and that's fair enough, I guess. Ash, we haven't heard from you for a little while. I've got a couple actually. If we can just sort of do these quickly, because I'm conscious we need to get onto our confessionals. But Forza Motorsport 7's coming to an end in September. Was that a bit of a surprise? Are you a Forza Motorsport 7 kind of guy?
It wasn't a surprise because they did the exact same thing with Forza Horizon 3. Was it last year or the year before?
Yeah.
And I think they've done it for most of them. Forza Horizon 2 had the same thing. It's sad that it happens, but it's licensing issues. I'd hope that Microsoft in the future gets better licenses for these games, especially if we've got these live services like Game Pass. They need to get better contracts where they can keep them on the services for permanent sort of, because like I say, when it hits a certain stage, stop selling it in the store, but why take it off Game Pass and stuff like that for people to play? But obviously they've run the numbers and decided it's not worth continuing with it. But they've done a really nice thing. If you've bought any of the DLC, you get the game for free, basically. If you've played it through Game Pass and you haven't actually bought the game, but you bought the DLC, they're giving you a free copy of the game. And it's currently on sale. I think it's less than a tenner now. So if you're that desperate, you really haven't played Forza Motorsport 7, but for some reason you have to play Forza Motorsport 7 right now, it's a stupidly good price. It's a really good game. I prefer the Horizon, sort of the open worldness and the arcadey feel of it over the sort of more sim-based driving. But the Forza Motorsport 7 is one of the best driving sims out at the moment. So grab it while it's at discount. I think they've said it's going to be for like 2 months before it drives off into the sunset. So if you haven't played it, jump on Game Pass, give it a try. And you'll know whether it's for you or not. And like I say, if you do enjoy it on Game Pass, you can pick it up at a really decent price. But to be fair, we've got Horizon 5 coming in November, so I'm not going to cry over it. I'm not going to miss it. I'm just going to sit and wait for Horizon 5 myself, because I've already got 7. So it's not going to stop me playing it in the future. They're not...
No, that's fair enough, and I think the plan was obviously to have Forza Motorsport 8 out by now as well, so there wouldn't be this kind of gap in service, I guess, but it hasn't quite panned out like that.
Yeah, definitely. But like I said, there's not going to be a shortage of games the end of this year, and like I said, there's going to be a Forza, so it's a no-brainer. And if you own it already and you've bought DLC for it, you're not losing out. You're still going to be able to play it, just not online, basically. That's the only difference.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Scott, I think we're getting some connection issues. It's very juddery, the video, and I think you were starting to bot slightly as well. I don't know if you got some connection issues, mate, because it's actually Scott that's hosting this video. I don't know if it's worth taking the video down and just starting again. That tends to do it. Yeah, that's fine. That's no problem. Excellent. Okay, well, that rounds up topic 2, and that was probably quite a big one, actually. So really appreciate chat. Thank you very much. We've got some more people in the chat now. We've got Fun Speculation. Mav, welcome, my friend. Stubbs Gaming, again, welcome, my friend. Always great to see you guys in the chat. You host your own fantastic podcast. I implore anyone who doesn't check them out to do so already, but I can't believe there's anyone that listens to this show that isn't aware of all of the other fantastic podcasters out there, including the Indie Gamers, where I did a fantastic review on Omno, which we discussed in detail earlier. So here we are, topic 3. It's not even really a topic. We're about to move into the gaming confessionals, everyone. So if you can all shuffle up on your seats and allow everyone through. Everyone in the chat, welcome in. This is your chance to let us know some of your gaming confessions and stuff. And today's topic is going to be game rage, and probably one that's a little overdue as a discussion and a topic. And who shall I go to first? Let's go to Puxley first, shall we? And this is going to be a question to everyone. Okay, so game rage. How does game rage affect you? What have you done in the midst of a flight of game rage? Any confessions that you need to get off your chest right now?
Well, I suppose. Okay, so one memory I do have, it must have been about 10, 12 years ago when I was back living at home, probably about 17, not gone, back from school or whatever it was, playing some good old Call of Duty Online, and I know, I think it's probably Modern Warfare 2 at the time, and I think a lot of COD players, yourself, Flap, you must sympathise with this, in that you definitely have days where you feel like you're on top of the world in the COD community. You're getting like 30 kills, 2 deaths. Yep. We're talking like top loadouts. You are on your game. You're wondering why you're not pro, and then you play the next day, and it's your KD's all over the place. It's maybe 3 kills to 18 deaths or whatever else. And I remember this one particular time because I had in my old bedroom, I had like a loft bed, so bed was high up. It had a metal frame, and then my desk and stuff was underneath it. And I was in my gaming chair. I had a rocker gaming seat at the time, so I had speakers in behind my ears and headset all up with friends and stuff. We're all throwing F and C bombs to each other as we did.
Like you do.
And I remember this one particular time I was getting so ticked off that I saw the metal frame, I saw my controller, and most of the time I can keep my calmness just at the tip of the rage because I'm thinking I don't want to have to go out and buy a new controller. But this particular time I got so enraged by this particular few matches where I just wasn't making any decent progress that I saw this metal support bar on my bed next to me, and I smacked this thing about three or four times on the wall. The controller was all marked and crushed and messed up. And then to the point where even my dad downstairs yelled up saying, "What the fucking hell are you doing up there?" And there's me kind of tentatively like, "Oh, sorry, Dad. Yeah, nothing. I dropped my controller." I said something like that. But no, I've thrown and smacked this thing against the wall a number of times to the point I think I ended up breaking one of the sticks or something. But I've not had many moments like that. But that was one in particular which I do remember.
And did you feel the instant shame of it afterwards?
Oh, definitely. Bear in mind, I think I still had a headset on at this point, and friends on the other end of the line, absolutely in tears, laughing at my reaction. Then there's me just thinking, "Oh, shit! I think my buttons aren't working now. Not for real this time. It wasn't lag, because everyone blames lag, but." Yeah, that was that one moment you think, "Oh man, I definitely overreacted there. I won't be doing that again."
And until the next time, obviously.
Until the next time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I mean, we play we used to, not so much anymore, but we used to play Call of Duty a lot, and we used to play in kind of a group and stuff, and it was always weird, wasn't it, how someone was going off, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, I'm 24 for 2, and it's like, "Oh my God," and you look at your KD, and you're like, 3 kills for 27 deaths, you think, you're starting to lose your shit, they're on top of the world, and it's just that really awkward when you're in the same party, because you've got no excuse, you can't really blame lag, we're all suffering the same lag if there is any. It's just bad play at that point. But
indie gamers asked what game was that? Go on.
No, that was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, I'm guessing.
Yeah, indie Modern Warfare 2 I'm talking about at the moment,
you could have been any of the Call of Duties. And to be honest, the thing with Call of Duty is there is an element of luck. I mean, you've got the COD curse, haven't you? You'd be looking at a corner or a door for I don't know, not necessarily camping, but just know someone's coming. And the millisecond you look away, someone comes around the corner and blams you. That's just so frustrating. But I think we've all been there to a certain degree. Let's come to you next, Luke. Do you partake in multiplayer games? I mean, obviously you play Halo a lot, and that can be frustrating. Do you take your rage out on pieces of equipment and things around you, or are you quite calm and collected?
So this is where the rational professional facade will fall for a moment.
Excellent.
So
you're in the right place, my friend.
Yeah. So I'm not. Nowadays, I don't get very ragey at all. There are moments in games where I'll be frustrated, but not to the extent that I'm going mad or anything like that. However, when I was about 15, 16, there's 2 or 3 moments specifically. So if you'll indulge me, I'll let this slip. So when I was that age, actually, so I picked up the OG Xbox when it launched, and I was a huge multiplayer gamer on that system, to the point where I was in a clan at the time. That,
nice. Yep.
did a lot of I don't want to say professional gaming, but certainly more serious kind of multiplayer gaming. And we were legitimately probably one of the best teams at Counter-Strike in the UK.
Oh, nice.
For the original Xbox. So that's kind of where my love for that game came about. And then years later, I played it on PC. There was one occasion when we were actually we had a match against a German team, and they were unbelievable. They were probably the hardest team we'd come up against, and we had to sub out. Some of our players couldn't make the game, so we had to bring in our backup basically. So we were already kind of doomed. But it was so bad because there was one poor bloke, bless him, who was on our team who really hadn't played the game much, and we were trying to. It's really important that you communicate and use tactics very well in Counter-Strike. It's all about map awareness and doing that well. He just wasn't good at it, and we got absolutely smashed. And throughout the game, my rage was kind of bubbling away under the surface, but I managed to keep it together until right at the end when the game ended, and I promptly then literally punched my wall. And actually, I didn't. It was a pretty poor punch because I didn't make any difference to the wall, but I did sprain my wrist really badly, which meant that I actually couldn't play for about a week while that recovered. So there was that one. That wasn't fun. And then the only other one that really sticks out, which is a pretty bad one as well, was we, again, the same time period. We had a few players in our clan who played on Unreal Championship a lot, and they were excellent. They were really good. And I was like, I'll play Unreal Championship. I've never really played it before, but let me go and play it.
Very fast paced.
Very fast paced, and also very there's a weird kind of dance that goes on in Unreal Championship. So if anybody remembers things like the shock rifle, where you can alt fire a slow purple dome basically, and then you primary fire it, and it creates a kind of shock zone, and it's all about, there's a specific way you can dodge that. And the homing rockets, you can do a kind of counterclockwise dodge, and there's all this stuff, and they were trying to teach me it. And I couldn't, I just really could, like, I was all right, but I couldn't grasp the kind of technicality. And so, again, raged so badly at some point that I smashed my controller up, then went over to the Xbox, took the game out, and just literally disintegrated it in front of my eyes. Just I was so angry that I couldn't.
This is a different Luke. This isn't it? This is not the Luke that we know and love today.
This is the competitive Luke. I'm not massively surprised, if I'm honest, and I mean that kindly, Luke, because you're highly competitive, and I think you're like me. You just it's just frustration out of yourself more than anything else.
Yeah. So I just there were two really dark periods in my life where I just couldn't control that rage at all. The disc one was just great because it was one of those moments where you do it, and then, as you say, you're like, oh God, why did I do that? Like, this instant regret. There's a very brief moment of satisfaction that fades away when you realise that you've just destroyed that game, and now you're gonna have to buy a new one. So those are mine. But nowadays, I don't have any of that. I'm very good. I'm a good boy.
Yes, you're in very good company. I picked a fight with a wall. And as you say, the wall always comes off pretty well, because I ended up with a boxer's fracture to one of my I can't remember what they're called now. This is the carpal bones between your wrist and your knuckle. Basically, it's a boxer's fracture, and that was. Crikey, I think that might have been Call of Duty. It might have even been Medal of Honor. I mean, crikey, that's how long ago it was. Long time ago. But wow, it seems like we've all been in a similar place. Well, not all of us, but some of us. Chat, I'm intrigued to know, and just quickly, drop down in the chat if there's anything you've broken or smashed up, just purely through game rage. Just let us know what it is, and I'm intrigued to know what the most expensive piece of equipment is. If someone's thrown their OLED TV out of the window or something, I will be intrigued to know. So please just let us know what the most expensive thing you've ever beaten up in a game rage. Who should we come to next? Who are we going to pick on next? Let's come to you, Ash. Game rage. Is there anything you need to get off your, or cleanse your soul with? Anything you need to get off your chest? How does game rage affect you? Or are you cool as ice when you're playing games?
Do you know what? My stories aren't anywhere as exciting and as crazy as your guys. I mean, I rage. Like, if I'm playing multiplayer, I'm not in a nasty way or anything, but the Fs and the Jeffs grow to uncontrollable levels, and I will clench my pad as if I am trying to sort of crush it into a cube.
Crush it.
But I've never thrown anything, I've never broke anything, but I have honestly, I get more and more frustrated with multiplayer games, and I don't know whether it's just it's never my fault, clearly, but there's something that winds me up. But I mean, I've never raged as much as when I used to own like a LAN gaming center, and literally Counter-Strike and Call of Duty 4 are two of the most rage-inducing games I've ever played. I mean, Counter-Strike is the worst because the people that play Counter-Strike are so good at Counter-Strike, and they let you know. Like, I'll be just trying to play and do well, and some guy bunny hops around a corner, knifes me in the back of the head, teabags me, and then hops off, and I'm like, what is going on? And I'm just fuming, absolutely fuming. But like I said, I try not to like throw or break anything because I'm like, I don't want to have to buy that again. I've had a few pads go where I've probably been using them too much, but that's more just sort of general sort of pushing too hard on buttons and stuff like that, but never from like throwing them at anyone or anything to that sort of effect. So it's a bit more timid than you guys. It's just half not as exciting, is it?
No, you have my respect. My God, I wish I was like that. I'd probably be wealthier if I was more calm and collected, particularly playing multiplayer games. But even single-player games, it's not just multiplayer. Even single-player games can just irritate the hell out of me sometimes. And like I say, so, something like Death's Door, where it does not hold your hand, and you do have to put in the time and effort to work out all of the nuances and quirks and stuff. And if I'm not in a particularly patient mood, that frustrates the hell out of me. So
I have found, though, with single-player games, it's not the difficult games like Death's Door. I mean, that frustrates me because it's hard, but I expected that. It's games that don't work how they should, like the menus don't work, or the camera doesn't work, or you're pressing, it's telling you to do something and it doesn't do what you're asking it to. That frustrates me, and then I start shouting at my telly. I'm getting angry, and I'm like, why do you not do what you're telling me to do? It's like, press this to do this, and then it's not going off your screen, this big prompt, and it's like, I am doing that. Why? And that frustrates me more than it being hard. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's interesting. That's an interesting nuance I hadn't really considered, actually. But yeah, I completely concur with that. Like you say, sometimes when games are badly coded and you feel like you've been cheated, I think that's the thing, isn't it? That's where the frustration and the anger comes from. You feel like you've been cheated. But have we saved the best till last? We're about to find out. Scott, come on. Give us all of your sins. I can't believe you're as cool as ice. Surely you must rage over something.
I guess I'm similar to sort of Luke and you guys, to be honest. But I can say hand on heart, I've never broken any equipment. I've never punched any walls with anything.
Well done.
I could say that. But I think mainly that comes from, I think as Ash said, it's like, I don't want to spend more money on that, or if you hit the wall, even if the wall comes off worse, you still got to repair the bastard, haven't you? So like at the end, you still
absolutely.
So I mean, I'm very much like Ash, very much 10 year blue Fs, Jeffs, Cs, Ws.
We've played in the. We played in the Halo tournament. Yeah, it was all getting a bit fruity in there sometimes.
Yes, exactly. Everything that would get us demonetized in every way from YouTube, I think. So the one that stands out though is and for those of the original Xbox, you might have, because you mentioned obviously playing CS and Unreal Championship on the original Xbox. Can you guys remember Return to Castle Wolfenstein?
Oh God, yeah.
So that is genuinely one of my favorite multiplayer games of all time. Like genuinely up there, was such an amazing game. And this time I was still at school, I think, or would have been maybe just coming out of school, just going into college, so around 15, 16-ish, if I remember right. Similar to Luke, actually, we used to play in sort of those clan type games as well. Nothing sort of serious, but it was relatively competitive. You had a team and you played sort of organized matches and things like that. So the one that really stands out is we lost, and kind of it's also one of those games where kind of teabagging was a thing as well, and we got stomped. And there was this other guy on, well, I say guy, I'll come to that in a second. There was somebody else on the team with us that I kicked off about, and then all of a sudden it went deathly silent. I feel terrible about this now, actually thinking about it. And about 30 seconds later, unfortunately, this young kid's mom came on the mic and told me off for how for the language that I used towards this what turned out to be a fairly young kid at the time as well. But I wasn't to know. And yeah, that's probably the worst I've had it. That actually made me feel bloody dreadful, if I'm being perfectly honest at the time.
Well, that doesn't make you feel better knowing that you've been done by a 10-year-old, surely.
No, well, he was on my team. He was on my team. That was the thing. So I thought he was sort of similar age to me, but he turned out he was much younger. So yeah, my language wasn't great, and and I guess when his mom had to come on the mic, it maybe told you sort of how it made him feel, which is something I'm definitely not proud of. That's probably the one that stands out the most. But I am very pleased to say I've never broken anything, at least that I can remember in Rage. Thankfully, just maybe just made a few children cry, which I don't know what's worse.
So you just scarred a few children for life. That's all. Yeah.
I do feel bad thinking back.
I should also add, just to jump in, I've just remembered another one which I had, which I'll make very brief. But I once,
I've got one as well,
this is quite a sad one actually, as in you should pity me.
You didn't kill a cat or anything, did you?
No, I didn't. But I did years and years. I think. Well, I remember what year it was because it correlates to the game. But I'm a big player of Football Manager, so on PC. So, and I remember in Football Manager 2008, I can't remember the circumstance of where I was in the game, but I was taking control of my beloved Sheffield United, and I think it was in the Premier League, and you can't redo games on Football Manager. You can kind of redo a game by saving, quitting out, and loading back in. But yeah, but I never did that at all until one game. I'll never forget it. And I was away to Burnley in the Premier League, and no matter what I did, so I started the game and I lost 6-0, and I just couldn't comprehend it. So I was like, no, I'm not having that. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back and I'm going to do it again. Next game, lost 4-0. And I must have done the game about 15 times, like just not comprehending how can Burnley be so good. Like they were playing like Barcelona back in the day. And I had a cheap monitor. I ended up actually punching the monitor and just completely not destroying it, but it kind of all the liquid inside just kind of blobbed out.
Wow.
And it was pretty bad, and particularly because it's Football Manager, so I'm not even with other people. No one's aggravating me apart from the Burnley AI.
It's not even that Twitch reaction. It's like, he ran around the corner and he shot.
I think it's because it's really tactical. So like you're like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing wrong? How the hell can't I beat Burnley? With this team at the time. So it was annoying. Very annoying.
Wow.
Yeah, I've saved scummed many a time of Football Manager, man. That's the only way to do it, I think. How far did you have to go back? Because there's been times where that's happened and I've literally gone back, like the auto saves maybe like a 3-month in-game period. And you've had to go back like 5 or 6 games.
I think luckily for me, it was only about 2 weeks worth of game time, so I could get to it pretty quickly. But yeah, sometimes, as you say, you do it sometimes and it'd be months, wouldn't it? You'd have to replay all 7 fixtures or something.
Yeah, as long as you didn't sleep further down the league by going back, that would have made it even worse.
Yeah, no, luckily they were, I think it was an international break, so I could skip quite quickly for it.
Excellent. Wow.
I've got another one, actually. Pucks. Yeah, so this is actually Kid Rage. So, a big fan of Legend of Zelda. Back in the day, I must have been about 7 or 8 years old, Game Boy Advance SP, playing The Legend of Zelda The Minish Cap. And I've spent hours and hours playing through this game. I loved it so much. Got to the final boss, which has got about 5 or 6 different, stages.
Yeah.
And I kept death after death after death. And there was one particular time, I remember being at my grandparents' place, and it was on a Saturday evening or something. I'm sitting on the sofa playing this game, and there was the one moment I felt like I was almost there. I got to the last stage I never got to before. I felt like it's all going well. I've got plenty of health left and all that kind of stuff. And then this one big attack out of nowhere right at the end just completely wiped me out. And I remember feeling, as a young kid, like pure and innocent still at this point, feeling so angry of what just happened. I ended up bursting into tears and just very, very carefully closed the clamshell of the Game Boy, put it down, and just kind of stuck there in this emotional turmoil, not knowing what to do with myself, because I felt I was so close to finishing this game. And then after so many attempts, and then I got killed right at the last moment, and then I was so enraged that 7-8-year-old me just burst into tears for about half an hour.
Wow,
good times.
Well, we have cleansed some souls. I think the silliest game I've ever game raged over was again an offline game. I think it was Kingdom Hearts or something. I think it was yeah, it was so frustrating. I think it was the Hercules bit. Was there a Cerberus you had to fight or something? It was just driving me nuts. I think it was on PS2. I think. Oh, jeez, they were the days. Wow.
I've got a few comments actually. If you want me to read these out.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Where are we with the chat?
I'll save the best one I have saved for last. But it's Timmy V2 says, I used to throw controllers when I raged or got frustrated when playing games. Now I just throw lots of swear words about, and sometimes I've bashed the floor in rage.
Yeah, no, well done. Yeah, well done.
Stubbs Gaming, I used to bad game rage in COD multiplayer, as we've all said. Indie Gamer, this is going to sound lame, but I've never really major game raged. I think it's because it's my happy place, lol. I can get rage otherwise occasionally, though. Shizlo Elite, similarly, actually. I don't really rage much. I lose my temper over times, but not much in games. Games are supposed to be my zen place. I should point out, though, but I don't know about you guys, but during the rage, like, I'm still enjoying the experience, but I'm just...
you go back for more, don't you?
I'm just supremely pissed off with it at the same time.
You always go back for more. That's the thing, you might smash your controller up and fix it or find another one, but, within half an hour, I'm booting fucking Call of Duty back up again for another go.
You've had your cup of tea and you're back to it. Ballbang Gamer, worst thing I've ever done is raged so bad playing Metal Gear Solid 1 on my PS1, kept getting killed by Sniper Wolf, I lost it. And I threw my PS1 out of the window and remember crying afterwards, seeing it smashed. Oh God!
Oh wow! Wow, I think that wins.
Oh no, it doesn't. It doesn't. I've got one more, and I'm hoping I can read it out because it's quite funny. So this is from a Super Cosmic Puma who says, "Controller flew out." I can't even read it.
Do you need us to step into there, Pox, mate?
I've just seen it.
No, I'll get there. Hold on. Give me one more try.
Right, give yourself a moment, mate. Compose yourself. Deep breaths.
Okay.
So,
dear. Super Cosmic has said, controller flew out of the 5th floor into a small lake. Below there's restaurants around it. It's a man-made lake, only a few feet deep. Did the walk of shame into the lake in front of a cheering crowd. Only had one controller. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I've lost it, but oh man, that was fucking hilarious.
Did he say what game it was? Puma, tell us.
Oh, Puma, what game was this, please?
We need to know what game that was, mate.
Oh, that is so far. I can sympathise with that. He got one controller. This is the thing. The thing is, he wants to play more. He's got one controller. He's got to go and get it from the lake.
Did it work? Did it do the walk of shame?
If the controller worked, that'd be hilarious.
Oh, wow.
You could just picture it, can't you? Just the window open, you got launch this thing out there. You're like, oh no, it's my only controller. Oh, that's the best one I've read yet.
Man. Oh, well done.
Puma's just back saying he was aiming for the wall. Aiming for the wall, that's the worst part. He flew out the window. Oh, God. Oh, I'm sorry,
wow.
chat. We've lost it a bit, but that's hilarious.
Oh man! Oh wow! Wow! Well, thank you for sharing that. I was not expecting those kind of stories. Wow! Well, that actually makes me feel a lot better. But I've never done that. No matter what I've done, I've never done that.
Oh, that was Gears of War. Puma's just come back. It was playing Gears.
Excellent. Whoa. Okay, Luke. Well, I think you've you've smashed up a monitor. We've had a PS1.
Yeah.
Oh, it's hilarious. Well done. Thank you, everyone, for sharing that with us. My God, like I said, that makes me feel better. And for some reason, games get a bad rap in the gaming press. I don't know why. Wow. Well, thank you very much, everyone. I think that kind of draws this to a close. We can't carry on with that. Wow. We're not going to talk
that. Will be able to be fair.
Yeah. We're going to have to leave it there. Wow. Well, thank you very much. That was fantastic chat. That was brilliant. Yes, I had a funny feeling this one might. I was hoping people weren't gonna hold back, because I had a suspicion we all kind of game rage on some kind of level. And it's quite nice to know that I'm not the only one that kind of game rages on the level I do, and that I'm not top of the shop when it comes to game rage. There's people that rage harder than me, so that's kind of cool. Wow, fantastic. What a great show. Thank you very much, everyone. Let's just do the obligatory round of thank you for being here. We'll start with you, Scott, if that's okay, my friend. Thank you for help host last week's show. Like I say, there's some stuff kind of going down in the background that, like I said, life gets in the way, unfortunately, and we didn't quite do the anniversary sort of show and stuff that we had planned, but we will do that at some point when kind of things take an upwards turn, if that makes sense to people that know. No, thank you for doing that, my friend. It was a fantastic show. I absolutely loved listening to you two kind of host it like that, particularly you, Luke, as well. It was just such a different experience for me, and really loved it. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for capturing this footage as well. And we'll do it again next week. Did you have a good show?
Yeah, I loved it. I just want to add there, just to add to Super Cosmic Puma's thing, the pad didn't work either. So he did the walk of shame and it didn't work. So he did it for nothing. So, but no, I love the show, mate. Apologies for some of the technical hitches with the videos a little bit earlier. So, but no, had loads of fun. Obviously, great hanging out with you guys. And Ash, it was great to have you on the show again, mate. Obviously, thank you very much to the chat for their wonderful stories and comments as well. So thank you very much.
No problem. Well, the confessionals always go down well, and we will be doing more. There's plenty of scope to do more confessionals like that. And fantastic. Thank you, Puxley. I think you got quite a lot out of that one, didn't you? So have you cleansed your soul? Do you feel like you've shared now and that you can walk around burden free?
Oh, I think so. I'm feeling a lot better now, and thank you all in the chat, especially you, Super Cosmic, for that incredible story. I don't know why that really tickled me, mainly because I can imagine it happening, and I can picture myself doing it, if I'm perfectly honest. I think that's also what's kind of got me as well. But no, really good. Thanks, chat, and I really enjoyed the show. I think, as we said before we went live, actually, that again we've had things going on in real life. We've kind of been on and off, so it's actually it's really nice to be back on the show and part of the team and interacting with everyone on the panel with the chat again. So thank you all very much once again for being here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree, my friend. Ashley, thank you for coming back for a second time. You must have enjoyed it the first time to come back for a second time. I hope you cleansed your soul and you kind of realise where you sit now in the game rage kind of scene.
Oh yeah, I've absolutely loved it, and honestly, I've had a good laugh now in this last sort of 20 minutes. I cannot complain about that. That's ended my day fantastically, definitely.
Excellent. Well, we'll have to get our Halo competition penciled in. We will definitely do it. I'm still very much an advocate of Splitgate at the moment. It's not taken up too much. Well, saying that, the servers crashed quite horrendously, and they've struggled to get that game back up and running, because I think since they've launched it on console, it's kind of gone viral, and they keep getting their servers crashing, and it's a very small team that they're trying to get fixed as well. So Splitgate's a fantastic game. I envisage we'd probably do another Halo one, but if there is another game that you want to do, let us know. We played Wandering Dutch's Crew at Rogue Company, so we're up for other games. And there is a game that we'd like to play we'd like the GPG crew to be against our community as well. I know we've mentioned it a few times, and it was something I was trying to plan for our birthday at stroke anniversary. But like I say, unfortunately, we weren't able to in time. But that is something we're still planning to do. So we would love to have the GPG crew versus you guys in our community. That would be fantastic, and we'd love you to be part of that as well, Ash, if you can.
Yeah, definitely.
Luke, thank you very much for hosting last week's show again, my friend. It was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Like you say, different experience, but you were more than up to the challenge, and I am more than happy for anyone else who wants to host just to let us know, because I really enjoy it when you guys host. You bring a slightly different dynamic, and I actually quite enjoy being a guest on the show as well. So did you have a good time?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. As I say, it was a very different dynamic, but I really enjoyed it last week, and yeah, it was just nice to be able to give you a break, I think, and not have to worry about it for a week. So that's always of a benefit. So yeah, and tonight's show, yeah, really enjoyed that, and particularly Super Cosmic Puma's story at the end, which is a tale for the game rage ages. I think that's just absolutely fantastic.
That's going down in the annals of history. And that's the one to beat, I think. That's the one to beat. Yep. So thank you very much. Excellent chat. As always, thank you ever so much for being part of our journey. It's been an amazing journey for us. Like I say, we're 1 year and 6 days old, and to be where we are in terms of listenership, our community, our sub count, where we are on Twitter. It's just Pucks and I never really expected to be in this situation now, where we get to have a GPG crew. We have a community that seems to like what we do, and we absolutely love being a part of. And it's such a great pastime, and for all of our gaming rage. Gaming is a fantastic escape mechanism for many people and for many reasons, and I absolutely adore it for that, and everyone that we've managed to meet along the way. So thank you everyone for being part of our journey. You mean the world to us. We will see you on the next show, and in the meantime, safe gaming, enjoy all of those brand new games coming out, and we will see you on the next one.